My sister, let's call her Celeste, is the golden one. Always has been. But it wasn't always like that. We used to be close. The kind of sisters who shared beds during thunderstorms and passed notes through the heating vents when grounded. Our parents were good to us both. At least, they used to be. Then Celeste started dating this guy, rich, charming, heir to some old money empire. Let's call him Damien. That's when everything shifted. Suddenly, my mom started acting like Celeste was the second coming of royalty. She gushed about her every outfit, called her my successful girl, and started comparing her life to mine in that casual, slicing way only mothers can. She's just worked so smart, hasn't she? I mean, look at her life compared to yours. She knew exactly what she was doing. My husband and I were invited to her engagement party. I should have declined. I knew what it would be. But we went. Out of obligation. Out of some stubborn hope that maybe it'd be different. It wasn't. The party was held at this massive estate in the hills. Chandeliers, champagne fountains, custom ice sculptures, seriously. And Celeste? She played the role perfectly. She wore this silver dress that sparkled like betrayal and smiled like she knew she was winning. Damien looked genuinely happy. I felt sorry for him. Mom barely said hi to me. Dad tried, he always does, but even he was quiet. I caught him scowling a few times, especially when Mom kept parading Celeste around like she was some prize mare. She even pulled Damien's parents aside and bragged about how Celeste was always the most promising of the two. I was standing right there. Celeste raised a glass later and toasted to finding your person and leaving small lives behind. I nearly choked on my drink. Her eyes flicked toward me as she said it, like she was daring me to react. I didn't, but my dad did. He stood up, his jaw tight, and started to say something. Mom grabbed his arm and whispered sharply, "Don't ruin her moment." That was it. The last straw. That night, I promised myself one thing. If Damien was going to marry into this family, he'd do it with eyes wide open. Because someone needed to show him who Celeste and my mother really are. You ever realize, all at once, that you were erased? Not in some big, dramatic way. It's slower, softer, like a light dimming one notch at a time until you're sitting in the dark wondering when it happened. That's what it was like with my mom. Growing up, she loved us both. I really believe that. She packed our school lunches with little notes. Brought home matching pajamas every Christmas. When we got sick, she split herself in two to take care of us equally. Then Celeste met Damien. At first, I was happy for her. He was kind, attentive, and rich. God, was he rich? It wasn't just the money that changed things. It was what the money meant. Celeste started showing up in designer everything. Bags I couldn't pronounce. Jewelry with security guards. And suddenly, Mom wasn't our mom anymore. She was Celeste's publicist. She started using words like image and presentation. She'd ask me why I didn't dress like Celeste. Why didn't I try harder to glow? You could learn something from her, she told me once. She's going places. I have a job. A good one. My husband is decent, hardworking, and makes me laugh when I want to cry. We own a modest home, no debt, a little savings. We are happy in a quiet, simple kind of way. But to my mother, that life is nothing. Less than. She talks about Damien like he's a prize Celeste hunted down with charm and lashes. Not like a real person with a heart. And she talks about my husband like he's unfortunate. I tried to brush it off. Tried to focus on the parts of our family that still felt safe. My dad. My memories. But the more they paraded Celeste around, the more I disappeared. At holidays, they stopped asking me questions. At dinners, they forgot to save me a seat. I became a ghost in my own family, smiling politely while my sister played princess and my mother played press secretary. But ghosts? We see everything. And I've seen enough. So when I left that engagement party with a stomach full of champagne and bile, I started planning. Quietly, carefully. I didn't want to scream. I wanted to haunt. I didn't need proof. Not really. I already knew who Celeste was. But I needed Damien to know too. Because if he walked down the aisle with her, if he signed his name next to hers on a marriage certificate, a prenup, an estate plan, it would be like handing his soul to a shark and calling it love. So I started watching. I kept it quiet. Played the role. The supportive sister. The you guys are so perfect voice, even though I wanted to scream. But while she posted filtered selfies and soft launch brunches, I started collecting. The first thing I noticed? Celeste never looked at him when he talked. Not when he was telling her about a new investment, not when he told a story about his childhood dog. She'd smile at the room when he spoke, like she was posing. One night, at dinner with the family, Damien mentioned something about donating to a local shelter. Celeste laughed. Loud. Too loud. Oh, babe, don't be so earnest. You're not running for office. He looked embarrassed. But he didn't say anything. That's when I realized he doesn't know this version of her is new. Celeste used to cry over sad commercials. She once stole a stray cat from a gas station and kept it in our room for 2 weeks until Mom found it. But that Celeste is gone. Or maybe she only ever existed with me. The second crack came at a bridal boutique. I tagged along because she asked. Or more likely, because she wanted to show me what I'd never have. She twirled in a $15,000 gown. Mom cried. I stared at the bill. But then Celeste whispered he'll never notice. He's too obsessed with being a good man. And laughed. That laugh chilled me more than anything. She didn't love him. Not even close. She loved the world he gave her access to. The power. The optics. And Mom? She was complicit. She egged it on. Kept telling Celeste to lock it down fast and protect the bag. Meanwhile, Dad stayed quiet. I think he was biting his tongue so hard he could taste blood. But me? I wasn't staying quiet anymore. Here's the thing about revenge. It doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be precise. After that boutique moment, the laugh, the protect the bag line, I knew I couldn't let Damien marry her without knowing who she really was. And I wasn't going to try to talk to her or Mom. They'd gaslight me into silence like they always did. So I started digging. The first place I looked? Social media. Not the polished, influencer-level stuff she posts for likes. The real accounts. The ones she doesn't advertise. The Finsta, the burner TikTok, the second Twitter where she vents like she's anonymous. It was all there. Screenshots of Damien's texts with captions like, "Can he be more boring?" Videos of her mocking his outfits. One TikTok of her rolling her eyes behind him at a charity event, lip-syncing Get the Bag and Bounce. I saved everything. Then I dug deeper financially. My husband works in digital forensics and taught me a few tricks over the years. I found a shared account Celeste opened with Damien after the engagement. In that account, 3 massive withdrawals, none of which were for wedding expenses. One was to a wellness retreat in Turks and Caicos. Another to a private jeweler, except it wasn't her ring. It was a watch. For another man. Let's call him Zane. He owns a nightclub downtown. The kind of place that smells like overpriced cologne and shattered NDAs. I drove by one night, just to see. She was there. I watched from my car as she left with him, laughing, draped around his neck like she belonged on his arm, not Damien's. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sick. I felt clarity. I wasn't going to ruin her. That wasn't my goal. I was going to remove the illusion. She built a castle on sand, and I was just going to bring a flashlight and let Damien see the cracks. Because the truth is the most powerful revenge there is. It doesn't scream. It just shines. I didn't know if he'd come. Damien isn't stupid, but he's trusting. The kind of man who believes people are who they say they are. The kind who hears "I love you" and doesn't think to check for an echo. So when I texted him, just a short message, no accusations, no drama, I wasn't sure what to expect. "Hey, Damien, can we talk?" Just us. Nothing dramatic, I promise. "I have something you need to see before the wedding." He replied 3 hours later. "Tomorrow, 6 p.m., tell no one." We met at a coffee shop halfway between his place and the city. Public, neutral, smart. He arrived in a crisp button-down, still in work mode, but there were shadows under his eyes. I think he already knew, maybe not the details, but something. I slid a small envelope across the table. A flash drive inside. Labeled in plain black marker, "Open alone." He stared at it. Then at me. "I'm not trying to hurt you," I said. "But I won't let you walk into a lie with your eyes closed." He didn't touch the envelope. Just asked quietly, "Why are you doing this?" I could have told him everything. Laid it all out, the favoritism, the insults, the way Celeste and Mom treat my life like a cautionary tale. I could have ranted. But I didn't. Instead, I just said, because I used to believe she was still good. And now I know better. I think you deserve the same chance I never had with the truth. We sat in silence for a moment, the sound of espresso machines and clinking cups all around us. Then he nodded once. He picked up the envelope and left without another word. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't text. Didn't follow up. Just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the fallout or the silence. It took 3 days. On the morning of the 3rd, I got a message. "Meet me. 4 p.m. Same place." There was no emoji. No punctuation. Just my heart pounding so loud I almost didn't hear myself breathe. Because I'd just handed a billionaire's fiancé a loaded gun made of truth. And I had no idea who he was going to aim it at. He was already there when I arrived. Same coffee shop. Same corner table. But this time, he wasn't calm. His jaw was clenched, the kind of tight that hides fury. His phone sat face down next to an untouched cup of coffee. He didn't say hello. "You were right," Damien said. "About everything." I sat. He pulled the flash drive from his pocket and set it on the table like it was radioactive. "You know what the worst part was?" he asked, voice low. "The video of her bragging to that club owner. She told him she was only marrying me for the money, and that she'd milk me dry, then dip with the assets." Her exact words. I nodded, throat dry. I hadn't even watched the full clip. I didn't need to. The transcript was enough. He kept talking, calm, controlled, the way people do when they're holding back a scream. "She used my money to pay off a credit card in Zane's name. And she wired 10 grand to someone listed as Gemma. I called the bank. She claimed it was for a wedding planner. It's a lingerie model." I said nothing. He laughed. Bitter, hollow. "And your mom? She's in on it." Encouraged it. I found texts between them. "Your mother actually typed, 'Don't let him get suspicious. You need the prenup renegotiated first. Like I'm some investment portfolio. He looked me dead in the eyes then. I was going to propose an amendment last week, giving her full estate rights if something ever happened to me. She said she loved the idea. Now I know why. I felt it then, the full weight of what I'd stopped. I don't want a scene, he said. No tabloids. No drama. That's what she wants. I'm not giving it to her. He slid his phone over. It showed a screenshot, a lawyer's letterhead. I've locked the accounts. The prenup stands. My lawyer sent her a document terminating the engagement. I had the locks changed at my condo this morning. I stared at the screen. She doesn't know yet? He shook his head. But she will tonight. That was the moment I knew I hadn't just cracked the mask. I'd shattered it. Celeste found out that night. I know because she called me 6 times in a row. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, so unhinged it could have been set to violins and played over a thriller trailer. You think this makes you better than me? You think you won? He's still mine. You're just jealous. You always were. Then she cried. Then she screamed. Then she hung up. 2 hours later, Mom called. Whatever you did, you need to fix it, she snapped. Celeste is devastated. Damien's lawyer blindsided her. Do you understand what this means for our family? Our family. The irony nearly made me laugh. No, Mom, I said, calm as hell. I think for once, it means consequences. She hung up on me. I figured that was the end of it. That Damien would disappear into his polished empire, and I'd go back to pretending I didn't come from a family that treats manipulation like tradition. But I was wrong, because Damien texted me again. Can I take you to dinner? No pressure. I just need your insight on something. I almost didn't go. It felt messy, but something in my gut said he wasn't done. And neither was I. At the restaurant, he laid it out like a business plan. Clean. Methodical. Celeste's been lying to a lot of people, he said, including some of my business contacts. I found out she tried to pitch a brand deal using my name, without permission. There's a trail. What are you going to do? I asked. He sipped his drink. Nothing. Directly. I'm not interested in lawsuits. But I'm going to stop protecting her. And that's exactly what he did. Over the next 2 weeks, little pieces of her story started to unravel. Friends she bragged to about the wedding ghosted her. Event vendors pulled out. Her influencer sponsors reevaluated their partnership. Zayn? Gone. Probably when the money dried up. One of Damien's associates leaked her burner accounts anonymously to a gossip forum. I didn't do it, but I watched it happen. She was bleeding status. And Mom? She couldn't take it. She started calling Dad hysterical, telling him he had to control the narrative, that their image was crumbling. But Dad didn't care anymore. He'd seen what Celeste really was, what they were. And he said something to me I'll never forget. I should have defended you years ago. She showed up at my house 2 days after the leak. No warning. Just her Range Rover screeching to a halt in front of my driveway, parked crooked like her life. I watched from the window as she climbed out in stilettos, no makeup, wearing a hoodie that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. She banged on the door like I'd stolen her child. I opened it. She didn't even wait for an invite. Just pushed past me and started pacing my living room like she owned the air. You're disgusting, she spat. You ruined my life. Do you even realize what you've done? I closed the door behind her. Calm. Collected. I didn't ruin anything, Celeste. You just finally ran out of shadows to hide in. She froze. Spun to face me. You've always hated me. I shrugged. No. I loved the version of you who cared about more than money. She died somewhere around the time you started calling people like me small. Her face twisted. You're just bitter. That I'm prettier. That Mom loves me more. That he chose me. Yeah, I said. He did. Until he saw you. She flinched. It hit her then, what I'd really taken from her. Not Damien. Not money. Not a wedding. The mask. The illusion. The little fantasy she built around being the girl everyone wanted to be. Now everyone knew. She sank onto my couch, legs folding under her like a collapsing tower. She didn't cry. Not right away. She just stared. Then finally, quietly, what do I do now? I sat across from her. That's not my problem anymore. She looked up at me like I'd slapped her. You're my sister. And here's what I said. No. I'm the mirror you refuse to look into. And you broke it too many times. I opened the door. She stood. She didn't scream this time. Didn't curse. Just walked out. But as she passed me, I caught it, that flicker of something behind her eyes. Not remorse. Fear. Because for the first time, Celeste realized the one thing she never wanted to be. Alone. The wedding was officially postponed within 48 hours of her breakdown in my living room. Then quietly canceled. No announcement. No refund. No apology. Just vendors pulling out one by one and a note from Damien's lawyer confirming irreconcilable concerns regarding the engagement. But that was just the start. Turns out, Celeste had built her little empire on borrowed credibility. Most of her brand deals weren't formal, just relationships built on her proximity to Damien. Once that disappeared, so did they. Overnight, she lost almost 50,000 followers. Influencer friends stopped tagging her. PR invites vanished. By the end of the week, she posted a photo of herself in a yoga pose with the caption, "Healing isn't linear. Sometimes the universe resets you on purpose." No comments. Likes hidden. I didn't laugh. I just watched it unfold, one unraveling thread at a time. Mom took it worse than Celeste did. She called me every day for a week, each voicemail more desperate than the last. Please talk to her. She's not eating. You've proven your point, haven't you? Just fix this. You're ruining the family. And my personal favorite. You owe us this. After everything we've done for you. Funny. I couldn't remember a damn thing they'd done for me that didn't involve guilt tripping or being told I'd never shine like Celeste. Dad, though, quietly reached out. He invited me to lunch, just him. No guilt, no pitch. We talked about my job, my husband, my life. And then he said, I should have said something years ago. But your mother wouldn't have listened. She doesn't understand fairness. She understands status. That was his apology. Rough, awkward, but real. As for Celeste, she tried one last move. She posted a photo of Damien's building from the street. Captioned it, "Some things you don't replace. You just regret." 10 minutes later, the post was gone. And 30 minutes after that, her account was deactivated. Word got around that she'd moved back into our parents' house. Her Range Rover got sold. So did the ring. Mom started selling designer bags on Facebook Marketplace. They called it minimalist living. I called it fallout. And every quiet piece of it was earned. It's been 6 months. I haven't seen Celeste since she walked out of my living room. I hear things, though. From mutuals. From Mom's not-so-subtle posts about loyalty and forgiveness. From the occasional family member who checks in just enough to stir the pot. Apparently, she tried to relaunch her influencer brand under a new name. It didn't take. People remember the truth longer than they remember lipstick codes and curated brunches. As for my mother, she's still in PR mode. Still spinning. Still pretending none of this is her fault. She reached out recently, asking me to come to some charity event. Said it would look good for the family. I didn't respond. Because I'm not a prop. Not anymore. My dad's been different. Softer. Realer. He apologized again, this time not with excuses, but with actions. He comes by sometimes. He helps fix things around the house. He brings wine and asks questions and doesn't mention Celeste unless I do. He's trying. I see that. My husband and I? We're good. Better than good, actually. We moved into a new place, nothing flashy, but ours. He stood by me through all of it, quiet and steady. When I spiraled, he held the line. When I plotted, he listened. One night, I asked him why he didn't try to stop me from going so deep with the revenge. He just said, because you weren't breaking things. You were setting them back where they belonged. I think about that a lot. I'm not angry anymore. I don't even feel satisfaction when I see Celeste's life unraveling thread by thread. What I feel is peace. Because she can't touch me now. Because they can't define me now. Because I finally chose myself, and I didn't do it for applause or revenge or to win. I did it so I could look in the mirror and see someone. Not a shadow. Not a ghost. Not a consolation prize. Someone real. The last thing I did? I made a copy of the flash drive. Put it in a safety deposit box. Labeled it. In case they ever forget. But I don't think they will. Not after this. Not after me.